in misquoting Jesus are not at all news to biblical scholars. They are what scholars have known and said for many, many years. He's right. So at the outset, I want to discuss our common ground. There are basically 5 things that we agree on. First of all, the handwritten copies of the New Testament contain a lot of differences. We really are not sure what the number is, but I agree with Bart that there are certainly more differences in the manuscripts than there are words in the New Testament. Secondly, the overwhelming majority of these differences affects virtually nothing. Third, we agree on what we think the wording of the earliest form of the text is, what I will call the autographic, or less accurately but more familiar to you, the original text. We agree on this almost all the time. Fourth, our agreement is even over several well-known and controversial passages, some of which Bart has already mentioned. Mark 16, 9 through 20, for example, where Jesus tells his disciples that they can drink poison and handle snakes and not get hurt. I agree with Bart that this passage is not part of the text that Mark wrote, and my apologies to anyone who has traveled to this debate from West Virginia. We both agree that the story of the woman caught in adultery was not part of the authentic text of John. This passage has more emotional baggage for it than any other, but it has been the pursuit of truth that has led scholars to the near consensus that these 12 verses have no places in the autographic text of John or of any of the 4 Gospels. Put simply, it's my favorite passage that's not in the Bible. These 2 passages are far and away the longest disputed texts in our manuscripts. They've been considered inauthentic in virtually all modern translations of the Bible. We both agree on 1 John 5:7. In the King James Bible it reads, "For there are 3 that bear record in heaven, the Father, the Word, and the Holy Ghost, and these 3 are one." As Bart said, this would be the most explicit statement about the Trinity in the Bible, but it is definitely not part of the original text. And this fact has been known by scholars for half a millennium. And finally, we both agree that Orthodox scribes occasionally change the New Testament text to bring it more into conformity with their views. So what's the issue then? The text is not the issue. Rather, our disagreement is over 2 things: how significant these textual variants are, and whether we can have any confidence about recovering the wording of the original. I take the position that we can be relatively confident. I believe that the wording of the originals is not lost, but can be located in the manuscripts. But the question about how certain we can be that we have found it is an entirely